Welcome back from the recess. We call ourselves back in session, the Wayne County Facilities Committee. Want to welcome everyone here. I see we have also with us today, we got some friends of the library that's here from Mount Olive, and we have elected officials, county commissioners, and it's good to see everyone here. Thank you for coming. I thank you for your presentations, and looking forward to the rest of the presentations today. And at this time, I will turn back over to Ms. Noel Woods.
We have presentation number 3, which is Hudson Brothers out of Greenville, North Carolina, and Brennan Architects out of Columbia, South Carolina.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lynn Hudson. I'm president of Hudson Brothers Construction Company. And with me today is Bart Collins, who's a senior estimator with our firm, has been with me for 30 years in his capacity, and Jim Brennan with Brennan Architects. And would like to go through my handout, and I'm going to try to hit the highlights of our topic today. First off, I'm assuming that you have reviewed our previous packages that were submitted in our earlier presentation, and we're glad that we had a second opportunity to present the more specific process and fundamentals of how our team plans to accomplish the mission set forth. Our firm is an Eastern North Carolina-based general construction firm that's been specialized in design, build, and construction, in this commercial construction and institutional project that goes back over a 30-year period. Our firm in the previous years, we've constructed numerous school and institutional projects. We've constructed probably 3 or 4 high schools that range greater than 250,000 square feet during the course of our time frame, and we've done many projects at East Carolina University under the institutional type project delivery method. So the experience and the contacts and the interaction that we've had with this type of project, we're very familiar with. We've recently done projects for East Carolina University in media center and library renovations. And so this was all part of our earlier presentations, but the stress of our experience in the specific type of project we're dealing with is also important. But talking about the type of project it is you've chosen a design build project delivery method. When we go back in the history of our company, that is a very strong component of how our company has delivered projects over a long period of time through the design, build, and negotiated process. And that's a good process. And what that does is it brings a team concept as opposed to a design, bid, build process that sometimes creates an adversarial relationship between the 3 parties. The design build first off brings in a single source responsibility and also a team approach. It involves the owner and the user group in the process that is beneficial to the project, and with that delivers a successful outcome on those type of projects. I understand that you have a design. I've studied your existing plans, and right now I want to stress that our firm or our team is not engaged to propose a new design for the facility that you're proposing. You already have a design, but you have budget concerns, and we're not in here today to try to tell you what's wrong with that or what's right with that, but to tell you how that we move forward with you and your team to establish the needs and the program of that particular project, and to then bring it within the budgets that are acceptable to the county and to the user group, because at the end of the day, once that project's completed, you want all the people and the users of that facility to be happy with the outcome, both in the scope and the quality and the program and function needs of that particular project. We over the years, obviously, costs escalate, systems change, codes change, and part of us being in business is that we are always having to deal with budget issues. Dollars are always of dire consequence, and so it's nothing new to us to have to look at alternative methods during these type of projects. As part of the handout that we presented is 2 recent projects that we've done in the last couple of years. One was a church, one was a baseball stadium. They had a need, and they had a budget, and the design was designed and bid. We were the successful bidder. We were the chosen contractor, and we ended up having to negotiate a substantial scope and costs out of those projects through a process of meeting with the owner, meeting with the user group, and identifying their needs, and then seeing what areas we could change or reconfigure in order to make it a successful project. Both of those projects are under contract. One is completed, the other one is about 50% complete, and it's on target both schedule and budget-wise. This project is a good fit for our company and a good fit for the type of project that we do and we do best. We're not a huge company, so we bring a lot of value to the table by the close interaction of the associates in my business. I'm a hands-on owner, and I participate and I'm active in not only the management of the overall project, the company, but I get involved in the projects as well. I just don't sit there and see them contracted and vanish. So as an owner, I'm involved in our projects from the front end to the closeout of the project, and interact with my personnel, my project managers, my estimators on a daily basis. So this project, again, the size of the project, the dollar value of the project, the size of our organization, what I'm saying is that our firm's going to bring a good value to Wayne County and to this project based upon the chemistry and makeup of all those components. What I want to tell you how we're going to do that. I'm not going to come in here today and tell you that what you've got is wrong or right, but I want to tell you that the process we're going to go from today to get to where you want to be in the end. We've heard values or dollar values of, a budget need, a budget constraint, and we've heard that I've looked at your design and I've looked at your plans and your scope, and I see, and it's a very nice design, but it apparently costs more money than the county and the user group can afford to build at this point. Otherwise, we wouldn't be at the table today. So what we would do is meet with the county and first off determine what is the budget of the process. What is the total dollars and value that we have to build within? And we'd identify those into various components, because right now that information's really not been made public to us or given to us in any specifics. So one, there is a design and a management cost of getting it designed and constructed. There is a building direct cost, site components, interior finishes, plumbing, mechanical, electrical, fire protection, furniture, fixtures that go in the facility. We need to identify what are those total costs of the project. And we would also like to have a contingency set forth in that final cost analysis, because there may be instances where we encounter unknown situations that you always want to have a fallback position. We would need to determine a schedule for your redesign, the evaluation, and interact with your committee and the permit acquisition, and then we would determine a construction time frame of physical construction after permit. That would be the first process, gathering information. Once we gather that information, the second thing we would do is we would ask Wayne County to provide us with the 2 previous cost estimates that they have for that current design and facility, one which we understand was prepared by the original designer, and second, one that was engaged from an independent professional cost estimating service. We don't have that information available to us at this point, but we'd like to take that in our organization and meet with our team and evaluate that. Myself, Bart, his years of experience, even our subcontractors who we have an ongoing repetitive relationship can look at some of the cost analysis of the PM&E, the sprinkler, the furnishings, components, and evaluate whether those costs are within acceptable ranges or on the high end of that range, and whether or not they could be altered. Based on my years of experience, I don't think we're going to change the colors and the carpet specification and get the project within budget without doing some reconfiguration and redesign. But we do that in a combination of effects. And again, I'm not sitting in here today trying to say what we're going to change and how we're going to do it is more so the process of how we do that. I looked at the project as far as what I saw, and I see a lot of exterior site amenities. We haven't met with the city or the county to determine the code requirements and the necessities for exterior certain improvements, whether they be handicap ramps or certain parking, but there seems to be a significant value or cost associated with the external component of the building. I saw a facade, a re-facade per se, of the front of the building in fronts and sides, and there's some fairly significant cost in that element. Maybe there's alternatives to that. Maybe we don't do as much. We need to evaluate that. I saw an extended large glass canopy, probably a significant cost item. I don't have that value, but I don't think it's a small dollar value. I think it's probably a significant value, and it needs to be addressed. Is that a necessity? Is that an amenity? Is it something that it could be added later? I think in the process we would identify alternatives, possibly alternates, during our process of bidding to have options available at the end of the day in addressing the overall cost. There was a clear story added, which has significant demolition structural cost and reconstruction cost. That may be a necessity to the program and functional needs. I'm not saying it is or isn't, but it's a significant item. And meeting with the user group and bringing them into the fold and meeting with the county, is that necessary, or can we alter that, or can we reduce the scope to get the same effect? Can we introduce maybe multiple skylights to get more local light in? There's several options there. So once we've identified where we're spending major dollars on the current design, then we have a follow-up meeting with the county, and also we want to bring the user group, the Friends of the Library, in to that process, because again, this is a team concept, and that's the beauty of this type of process. I'm going to go back to a large design build project we did for the city of Greenville some years ago. It was the design of the Greenville Convention Center, and the operator of the convention center, that was their first venture into running a convention center. So there was no right or wrong design for building a convention center. We looked at many prior to working on the design, but the first thing we did is we sat down with the city and a group that was focused to determine what are the needs, because you just can't, I can't take your design, or Brendan can't take your design and start drawing lines without meeting with the group and understanding what their needs are, and looking at the building and seeing how we adapt it to that. So you bring the team in and say, here's our findings. Here's where we're spending a lot of money. Here's areas of potential cost reduction. How can we address that? And you get that input, and then you understand that in order to get where you want to be, there may have to be some give and take. And it may be that at the end of the day, and I'm going to just use an example, that let's say your budget's $2 million. And we've gone through this process, and we've got a really good redesign and refocus and everything, and it's 2.2, but we've identified $100,000 or $200,000, but how essential that element may or may not be to the project. Then everybody, the user group, the persons that are funding it, they've all understand, okay, this is what really needs to be in order to make the project complete, functional, and for the long term. So once you get that process done, then you're ready to start really the redesign process. Once it's redesigned and you have a memorandum of understanding that we're going to change this and change that and alter this, you know, we're going to study the mechanical systems, you know, how many zones. The code compliance issues are fairly straightforward and fundamental. The number of people and the square footage of building and the insulation envelope is going to dictate the design of how many tons. But how many zones and how functional that is, the SEER rating on the units, the type of diffusers, the specifications of the ductwork, the gauge of the metal, all those components play into the final cost. And the team that we put together will be able to look at that and come up with the best value for that project. So when we're working with the architect and with the mechanical designers during their design process, we're not going to go away and wait. We're going to be integral with that process and participate with them kind of in checks and balances through that process. And we're going to then obtain a final set of plans. And then we're going to establish a list of vendors. We got materials, we have subcontractors. Our firm also can self-perform work. That I talked about the fit of the project to our size. We don't only just subcontract and manage costs. We can self-perform work and bring value to the project, because if I get the project in budget, you win, I win, everyone wins, and that's our goal, is to figure out the best way to get it there. We introduced the owners talked a lot about local involvement, and we can ask you if you've got certain vendors or trades to give them the opportunity to participate in that. There is some building demolition involved in that. This is not a necessity, but because of our association with Brennan and their past experience, there has been the use of inmate labor that is a good situation where we could bring them in. I'm not saying we can, but we can at least evaluate that aspect and bring them in to do certain demolition or labor components of the project. I just throw that out for what it's worth. During the early process, we would prepare the detailed construction schedules and then make it available during the bid process to the owner, to our firm, and also the vendors and subcontractors who are submitting bids on the project. We receive those costs, we spreadsheet those in a very detailed line item breakdown. We evaluate them. We also, at that point, go back to those same trades to identify our low subcontractors, and say, where are you seeing major costs? Why are we spending this amount of money? What areas do you see that you can change to give us the same thing? And they may have several suggestions that bring some more value to the process after it's already been studied and redesigned in the front end. Once we get to that point, we're ready to enter a contract. We talked in our earlier meeting about a good delivery method, a guaranteed maximum cost in essence. You're not vulnerable to me expending crazy funds and running over. I would guarantee that cost not to exceed X dollars. It's like a lump sum contract. But the benefit of that is that if I can underrun those costs, there's an incentive for me to be productive during my construction activities, and the owner and the contractor would then participate in a shared savings of those costs. So again, that's a win-win situation for both parties. That's how we did the previous large design-build project that I spoke of. Obviously, we provide performance and payment bond certificates of insurance to meet the project needs. We would conduct monthly progress meetings and involve the owner's representative, the user group, and keep them posted as to how we're coming. And also, we would provide monthly cost updates or job cost status reports saying, we're on target. We're on, we're within the boundaries of our estimate, and that's where we're headed. And of course, obviously, we're going to commit to deliver it on schedule with all the applicable closeout documents. I just showed you an example of two projects of how we did value engineering. We talked about the fact that there are many opportunities here. I'd like for Jim Brennan to speak briefly as to his input as part of our team, and then we'll be open to questions, and I thank you so much.
Good morning. Good morning. It's good to be back. Y'all have gotten to know my firm, Brennan Architects, through the detention projects that we've been involved in with the county for quite a number of years. And I hope over that period of time you've found us to be, first of all, responsive, but more importantly, creative and practical. And basically, that is the skill set that we bring to this team as it relates to architecture. You may not know that earlier in my career, previous firm, we actually were involved in renovating a 100-year-old cotton mill into the South Carolina State Museum. We were also involved in designing the Richland County Public Library in Columbia, South Carolina, which at the time was a very contemporary building that won numerous design awards, but it was done in a very, very, very cost-effective way. When Lynn and I first started talking about this project, what became obvious to me is this, and this is going to sound funny for an architect to say, this isn't really all about the design. It's not about design skills or approach. What's going to make the difference in this project being a success or not is how well we, particularly the architects, but the whole team, how well we listen. If we can't hear and understand the vision that's represented in the drawings that are already created, then we can't come up with an alternate approach that meets that same vision. Solving the financial side of the budget is numerically pretty easy. I mean, if you're 10 or 15 or 20% over the budget, only build, reduce the scope of the project by 10 or 15 or 20%. That solves the math problem, but it doesn't solve, it's not a long-term solution. What we've got to find is a way to analyze this project, listen very attentively to all those that have been involved in developing the project to date, and come up with a building not only that meets your budget, but one everybody's proud of. I mean, this is what we want as an asset for Wayne County. And that's what I think we bring to the table. We didn't come today with a lot of slides about what we would design, and because frankly, until we have those conversations with you, I don't know what the solution is. It's going to come out of those discussions, and it's going to be something at the end of the day that we're all happy with the budget, but proud of as developing a long-term asset for the county. So I don't want to reiterate many of the things that Lynn said, but I do think it's important that you see that our approach is the key to us helping to make this project a success. And we look forward to working with you at the next step. So with that, Lynn, we'll just open it for questions.
Okay. Mr. King, you have any questions?
Lynn did a pretty good job of going over a lot of the ideas and thoughts that I had with the two previous interviews, and I appreciate that. You covered it very well, very thorough. Logistically thinking along the same terms of elevations, exterior, presentations, knowing the flavor of Mount Olive, and through the architectural part and understanding that direction. The logistics with the interior of the building, understanding how it will flow in reference to maybe changing some thought from the north side to maybe if there is more interest in entrance of the building on the south side because of parking, and acquiring possibly the enough property to establish the south side as the main entrance in the future, maybe 10 or 15 years out, depending on the success of the people coming in regionally. If you see needing another 60 or 70 spaces, parking spaces for an additional 100 or 200 people that are visiting each week, where are they going to park, and how do they move within the building? And of course, when you acquire more properties, then you have a tendency to maybe want to add on in the future. So, looking at those and those thoughts. So I don't have anything other than what I've asked before, and I believe understanding the theory of what was discussed, I'm okay.
Mr. Baker?
I'm okay with it.
Okay. I'm going to ask the same questions I asked the previous groups. Once we go through design and get all the permits and have all of our public hearings and everything, when you start the renovations on the building itself, what's your timeline from start to completion on the building itself? Estimated timeline.
I can't tell you exactly today, but I would venture that would be between an 8 to 12 month period. I think 10 months would be a good average, but one of the things I talked about in our presentation here was developing a detailed schedule and meeting with the county to understand what their needs were, because again, currently we're not engaged and we haven't redesigned, so we haven't finalized the formal scope. But given the nature of this project and previous renovations we've done of this magnitude, it's not a 6-month project. I'm going to say it's under a year.
Welcome back from
and so
recess.
I would think
the
that
Wayne
a
County
10-month
Facilities
time
Committee
frame would be in the ballpark.
Good to see everyone that's back. We've got quite a few that stuck with us all morning, and I'm glad to see you here today. As we move forward, in our presentation, at this time I want to turn it over to Ms. Noelle Woods, who's the Director of Purchasing here in Wayne County. So, Ms. Woods.
We have our number 4 presenter today, which is Daniels & Daniels out of Goldsboro, North Carolina, and Dunn & Dalton out of Kinston, North Carolina.
Thank you, Noel, and thank you, County Commissioners, for allowing us the opportunity to present our qualifications for this project. I'd like to introduce the team that we have here today, a team of Daniels & Daniels, Intech Engineering, and Dunn & Dalton. With us today from Dunn & Dalton is Michael Dunn. We have Derek Ham here with Intech, Benny Rollins, and then Rod Brown. I have here also with Daniels & Daniels, who will be presenting today our qualifications, Damon Jones. Our company's been in business for over 51 years. It's a local contractor. We've served Wayne County for all of those years. We've got experience with Intech and Dunn & Dalton. We've worked with them both over 15 years, some in design build and some in some of the other delivery methods. Back in 2000, we added an addition to the Wayne County Library and a renovation of the Wayne County Library, and that's back when Jane Rustin was the head librarian and Donna was working under Jane at that time. So we got that experience as far as the library goes. Most recently, we completed the senior center, which was the first design build project allowed in the state of North Carolina for a municipality. We think that that was a very successful project. We got through the project in a timely manner, and I think it turned out very good for all. But at this time, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Damon Jones. He'll take you through the slides, and of course, we have time allowed for questions as well at the end of this. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to come in with you here today. Design build is something that Daniels & Daniels has always been a part of what we do. And design build, we have found that it's our preferred method of construction. It gives us an opportunity to team with the owners, the designers, and create a team atmosphere to achieve the owner's needs, to maintain the budget, get the project done as quickly as possible. It takes a strong commitment and a lot of folks to make it happen, though. And on the screen here you can see from our company, our primary team for design build. Mr. Jim Daniels, the president of our company, he would be the project executive who would oversee all the functions of the project. Pre-construction manager would be myself. I lead all the services. The way I explain it is till the work actually starts, I run everything. The lead estimator would be Josh Price. The project manager is Bill Royal, who's our vice president of design build services. He's been with us for over 17 years now. The project superintendent is a Mount Olive resident, Joseph Beeman, and the assistant project manager be Aaron Womble, also a Mount Olive resident. Dunn & Dalton, they'll have several folks who work on this, but their primary members as the lead architect will be Michael Dunn, and the project manager will be Richard King, who also worked on the Services on Aging project. With Intech Engineering, the project manager will be Rod Brown, mechanical engineer Benny Rollins, electrical engineer Derek Ham. We also will need some other consultants throughout the project. Structural engineering will be engineering tech, civil design, Benton and Associates, Mike Benton, fire protection design, Phoenix Fire Protection, and other trades and subcontractors as necessary. You guys are here to make a decision on who's going to do this for you. And the first question we've got to answer to you is why us? Well, one of the things that Mr. Daniels alluded to, the Services on Aging here in Goldsboro. We've got a proven history of a successful design build project with Goldsboro, with Wayne County. No one else can say that because it had never been done before. If you take a look at that project, it's 19,000 square feet, which the project we're looking at for the Steel Library is 20,000 square feet. We took a retail space and turned it into a public services facility. Similar construction here. Those buildings were constructed in a similar era with similar type construction. The final construction cost for the services on aging was $84 a square foot, which is well within the budget that the county has targeted for this project. And we built that entire project in 186 days. Again, it's under the county's target budget. 91% of the construction was performed by local Wayne County contractors. The only one that wasn't was the fire protection contractor, and there's not a contractor in Wayne County that can do fire protection. The project was extremely successful for us, as well as the county and the community as a whole. We had just finished the new health professionals building for Wayne Memorial Hospital. This was a CM at risk, and we collaborated with the designers in the Wayne Memorial Hospital to build this beautiful facility, which is now in service, and we're currently working on the second phase with the hospital for this project. Everyone will recognize the Goldsboro City Hall, which we did the renovation of that, and Intech Engineering provided all the mechanical, electrical, plumbing design for that facility. Again, that was about 22,000 square foot renovation. The cost on that were slightly more at $150 a square foot, and the construction time on that project was 300 days. The Carolina Commerce Center was a design build that we did with Dunn and Dalton. It's located down on William Street. We did this a few years back, and the project received several awards from professionals in the industry. The Nova Behavioral Health Care is a design build project that we collaborated with Dunn and Dalton over in Kinston with Dr. Ford of the Nova. We have extensive experience in design build of high quality public spaces. We have a proven award-winning team and proven success. We approach our projects as an integrated team approach, which seems to be successful for everyone. And we've done similar projects with Wayne County in the past. Our goals for this project are, first, we will build this facility for a budget under $120 a square foot, or $2.4 million, which was the target number that the county put out. The facility will be user-friendly and present an appealing appearance. We will maintain as much of the current design as practical and as responsible to keep down the design cost and to speed towards construction. The facility will be highly efficient and provide a low cost for maintenance. And the work will be completed in under the 300 calendar days from notice received that the county set as a target. And in this process, our first order of business is to establish a baseline. The county has spent a lot of money to have a design done that a lot of good folks spent a lot of time working on and developing. So the first thing we want to see is exactly where we're at and exactly what we can build it for as it sits. And then we can have serious conversations with where we need to get to and where we need to go with this project to achieve the county's goals. And we would do that through a process called value engineering. A lot of folks, when you hear value engineering, the first thing they think is you just want to cheapen up my building. We truly look at this as the first word is value. We look at ways that we can improve upon this facility, but do it for a lesser amount of money. And we'll get into that as we go along. But the first thing we ask is, what can we change to save money that would not change the programming of the facility? What can we change to save money that doesn't change the functionality? And what can we change that maybe has some minimal appearance changes, but still keeps it functioning pretty much the same? There's a lot of things when we were going through this that we would classify as invisible changes. One of them is just in the bidding process. It's not really a change, but we would bring in competition into the bidding process, which is going to let the current market gain the county some efficiencies. In the current design, there is a mezzanine within the building that was destined to be demolished. And we looked at it, and we believed that we could salvage that mezzanine, keep that. It would give added storage space to the county and to the library, and you would save those demolition costs. I've always explained to folks, demolition is the only thing you pay for. Once you're done, you've got less than you started with. So anything you can do to limit the demolition you're doing, you're not paying to lose things. We're looking at revising the energy management system for the building to give something that's more in line with the current systems used by the county, which also would save some money. Revising the lighting package, which would not change the functionality but would offer some less costly options there. Relocating the electrical room to a more efficient location, which would cut down on the runs, the lengths of conductors that have to be connected there. Eliminate the irrigation service and meter and provide plantings of more native type plantings that are drought tolerant. This is pretty typical in the construction industry now, and if you can get away from sprinkler systems and all, it cuts down on your maintenance costs, cuts down on your water usage, and will save you quite a bit of money in your initial construction costs. Eliminate a central hot water heater and go to point of use hot water heaters. The way it's currently designed, you've got one big hot water heater sitting in a corner keeping a big old tank full of hot water, and then you've got circulation pumps moving that hot water all around the building. With the point of use, the water is only heated, like it says, at the point where it's used, and it only is heating what is used. So you're not paying to keep that big tank hot. Apply recovery ventilators to the rooftop units 1 and 2, and delete the metering options on the MDP. Use power poles in lieu of the slab service, and revise the outdoor lighting. At this time, I'd like to invite Benny Rollins up to maybe give you a little bit more information on a couple of these items that we mentioned.
Basically, what Damon's referring to on the refining of mechanical and electrical systems, we looked at those, what you've got designed, and we see that their sizing might be improved some, mainly because of the changes we're making to the building and also the application of the heat recovery ventilators. And the reduction in the size and the equipment actually saves us money, but what we're really looking at is being able to improve the conditions in the building. You're using this as a library, so they help us control humidity better, both in the summer and the winter. And also the things in looking at the power poles instead of cutting into slabs and all saves us money, and the application of supplying power all throughout the building where you've got your open areas, and also gives you some flexibility in changing those things as things change in the library. So basically what we're looking at is things that save money but enhance the building that you got and make it more usable for you in the future.
And again, in our whole process, everything we've looked at was ways to cut costs but improve functionality. And you've got a large facility here, and things always change. Programming changes, and those power poles are a big item, because what's currently designed, we've got to come in and cut that concrete floor, and you're going to run conduit underneath that slab, and you're going to put a spot in with some power and data. Once you do that, you're tied to that spot forever unless you want to come in and cut your floor out again. If we go to some of these power poles, then you've got the flexibility. You can move those, and they've got decorative features to them where you can make them where they can just about disappear, or they look like they're part of the architecture, like they were intended to be there. Minor modifications that would result in big savings. Do not relocate the current main entrance. This would eliminate that demolition cost we were talking about. It eliminates a lot of the structural revisions, provides better opportunities to create some usable space outdoors. It does not change the functionality or the security with minimal fixture relocation, and it would reduce construction time. Currently here you see on the ratio design, they have that entrance located, a new entrance located at this location. In our design, we leave it where it is, which is about 15 feet to the left. But it's a substantial cost difference that it provides you, and we can still orient the incoming traffic to the same location. The rear entrance, if you'll notice on the left, on the ratio design, they moved the door about 5 foot south and changed it to a single door. In our design on the right, excuse me, can we back up one, please? We left the double doors where they're currently located and just moved that study to the south. We did not change any rooms, did not delete any space, just switched where the room was located. Revised the masonry details. In the current design, they have where that mansard goes around the top of the building. Taking that mansard off and changing all of that to masonry. We're looking at going with some alternate construction building materials such as EIFS or metal wall panels. This would reduce the load on the building, reduce construction cost, construction time, and provide an opportunity to achieve some architectural features while greatly reducing the costs. And we'll show you that shortly. As you see right here, this is the existing main entrance, and it shows that mansard going around the top. We have a couple of options. Here's one that we came up with where we could rework that, and if you'll notice around the top, we're showing metal panels where that mansard was located before. Another option is to do something like this, which would also incorporate some outdoor space that could be used and to give a nice appearance, but again, reducing your construction costs. And if you look, this is from the northwest corner, and you see we've kind of tied that entrance because that western entrance is what we've got here, but the county's also looking at the possibilities of renting that space, that meeting room space out. So we gave a nice entrance and appeal to that for functions where people would be using that entrance as well. Then you move around to the southwest elevation, which is what we have here. And we've pulled that design on around. And this is from the rear of the building. Just showing you some options. And there's other ideas, but we wanted to show you some of the things we were thinking about that could cut your costs, but also give an attractive look to the building. Here we have a floor plan that we've worked through, and at this time I would like to ask Michael Dunn to come up and kind of talk through some of the ideas we were having here.
Basically, this drawing revision came out of the fact that you may, at some point in the future, want to use that door on the southwest or the back side of the building in a more readily accessible manner to serve some of that parking that's back there. And so by doing that, by celebrating that door back there, we thought, well, maybe it would be nice to connect that with the front door with sort of a pedestrian spine that would come all the way through the building. And right over the middle of that spine is where we were talking about using the cow wall skylighting details. And I think Damon will show you a detail of that in just a minute. But that pulls people all the way through, and then you notice that the circulation desk is, instead of a rectangular, we're suggesting a semicircular desk that, in fact, an employee working there could easily rotate around that desk and see every point in the library without having to leave that desk. So we thought that might be an interesting thing to look at. Obviously, these are just ideas. We would like to spend more time with the committee to see how any of these changes would impact the scope of the work.
Another idea that we looked at, there is a rather substantial clear story design that's in their current project. And we looked at providing a structural skylight and solar tubes in lieu of that clear story. It would take a substantial cost of demolition and revising that structure to open it up and build that clear story. You're going to be looking at adding some pretty major structural steel revisions, new footings that would have to be installed. And we believe we can achieve the natural light and without doing that, and to save you money and provide a more energy efficient system. If you look here through this building, this is a project we're doing down at Camp Lejeune, and if you notice this opening here, this is going to the skylight, and here is just looking straight up into it. It brings a lot of natural light into the facility, but it's a lot less structure involved. Here is a Montessori school that we built up in Durham, where we did a similar thing, keeping the structure as it is and just adding that skylight system through there. Here you see where they use some of the solar tubes, where it looks like you've got some 2x2 light fixtures. That's actually solar tubes coming in through a diffuser, which gives you a lot of natural light, which is going to reduce your energy cost, but it requires very little intrusion into your building structure. Here's another system. And here's one also where they reworked the ceiling to kind of celebrate that natural light. Another idea, again, we had was salvaging that existing mezzanine and rework the floor plan to support this area. This would provide additional storage, reduce demolition, and reduce construction time. Here you see a picture up in that existing mezzanine. Doesn't have a very high ceiling, but it's got a lot of floor space up there. We've checked it. It's very sound. It's structurally in good shape and would add a lot of usable space instead of paying money to destroy it. And here's how we reworked that floor plan to work with that, maintaining that space. Again, all of this works through a team approach. We want to have the county, the design builder, and the designers to all work together for a common goal. And that's how design build works, and that's how it benefits everyone. Our management processes are, we would have monthly progress meetings. The county representatives would be invited. We go along, we discuss what we've done to date, what we have planned for the following month, and to go through the entire status of the project to keep the owner and everyone up with what's happening. We have a highly effective quality control program that has been refined and tested through our years of business, and we have found it extremely successful in cutting down on rework, getting things right the first time. We cooperate with the local inspections. We have a very good relationship with the county inspections department, and we have proven closeout procedures to get the job done, and when it's done right, and we can move on and turn this project over seamlessly to the owner. The budget is the big item, and that's a lot of what's going to concern the commissioners. And how we achieve the needed budget is, one, all of our subcontractors, we go through a bid process, but we pre-qualify all our subcontractors. We will get at least 3 bids for every item within this project, but we make sure that the subcontractors that we're accepting bids from have all gone through a stringent process of pre-qualification to ensure that they're competent, they have the financial capabilities, and they understand the needs of this project. We will comply with the North Carolina Minority Business Enterprise Guidelines, which is a requirement for all public work. And it's an open process with the owner. Once we've got our numbers in, we'll sit down with the owner and we'll share every quote, every number we have. And we'll want the owner to be a part of the decision-making process. It's not always the cheapest price that's the best price, and we want to have those conversations to be sure that we're making the best decisions for the owner and for the project. In summary, we have an experienced team. We've done this several times, and we've always had great success. We're ready to get started immediately. We've spent a lot of time, and we're excited about this project. We've been through the building, we've spent the time, and we feel like we've got a good plan to get it done. And we believe that if the owner is satisfied with our plan, that we could easily get this project done in under $95 a square foot. And based upon our current plan, we believe we can get this building turned over to the owner in under 180 days. And in the past, we've proven that what we say we can do, we actually get it done. Have any questions?
Mr. Keith, any questions?
I think it's a good presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, just a couple of questions. Thank you for answering the questions on the subcontractors and the individual bids and having us to be available for that. And also pre-qualifying them. That's important. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
Site work included, there was an $84 per square foot that you had early in your presentation. I was just wondering if the site work was included in that, but it goes back all the way to the front. But
That
the site-
$84 a square foot was the final cost for services on aging, and that did include the site work. That
Okay.
was the entire project cost.
Okay, the mezzanine level, is that handicap accessible?
No, and it would not be required to be if it's strictly a storage mezzanine. As long
How many
as it's
square
not an
feet?
occupied space, code would not require it to be handicap accessible. If you put anybody working in that space, then it would have to be handicap accessible.
Okay, and if so, elevators?
It could be done, but it would be cost prohibitive again.
Sure.
But that would be an option. But again, you have ceiling clearance issues up there for it to be ever converted to occupied space. I don't think I would recommend that.
Okay. And the last one would be lighting, exterior lighting. Would it be fixed off the building or pole lighting? I saw some lighting examples, I guess coming up on the building and exposing the building, but for safety,
Well,
the lighting
from
would come
safety
off the
standpoints,
building.
we've got some pretty stringent codes that we're tied to as far as for access to the building and the amount of lumens that we have to project. And Michael could speak a little better to that. But we would try to handle most of the lighting on the building, but back in that parking area, we probably have to incorporate some area lighting as well.
Okay. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Aycock, you have
Just good presentation, and I think the term y'all use is green. You just call it tubular lighting?
Yes, sir. Exactly, or solar tubes.
Yeah, solar tubes.
And we've used quite a few of those down at Camp Lejeune. The federal government has been push the green building or LEED construction quite a bit more. And one of the points I didn't make, but all of our project management staff and our pre-construction staff are all LEED certified and LEED accredited professionals. And we've used that system. It introduces natural light, gives you light, and a lot of times we'll do a lighting system where based upon how much natural light you're getting in there, it can actually turn off your electric lights or reduce those. And it adjusts itself depending upon how much natural light you're getting into the facility. but these solar tubes are very good at bringing a lot of light in with a very small penetration.
That's all I have.
Okay. I like Mr. King, and I like the idea of your subs getting more than one quote, because I'm in a similar situation in my own business, and sometimes steel companies, you know, you have these ones that you like to go to buy, but once in a while, I'm sure you do the same thing I do. Once in a while, you check up on them by getting a quote from someone else to make sure they're staying where they need to be.
Keep them honest.
Yeah, keep them honest. So I appreciate you doing that, because I look at that part of it as part of the value engineering, because we're trying to get a good product at the most reasonable price for the citizens of Wayne County. And so I just want to say I appreciate that. You answered my question early on about the construction time, so I'm aware of that. So I'm also aware of the solar tubes that you talked about in a previous presentation, and which is a great idea. And so I just think your presentation overall was great.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Woods?
I have a question.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have some. Mr.
Go ahead.
King?
No, sir, after you.
No,
No, you.
I just have a
wait.
comment after the fact, so,
Oh.
about what's happening next.
Oh, okay.
So go ahead with your comment,
Yes, sir.
please.
I didn't want to interrupt, Mr. Chairman.
No, you're fine.
I just also wanted to interject something on the elevations that you've given here as options 1, option 2. But to make it clear, I guess for clarity on my part, is that you have included in your price where it says option 1 or option 2, you have included the idea of giving these elevation looks all around the building, with the exception of the east side. But
Correct.
Your mindset is for curb appeal, logistically inside, that you've done the back entrance. I appreciate that, with that spine going down the center. I appreciate that. But the back is, if it were grow, you can't grow. In 20 years, the building cannot grow north because of the Main Street, and west cannot grow. You're on the road there on Chestnut. So the only growth pattern is south. And your elevation on the south side, I'm glad you've included that in your presentation.
Yes, sir.
But you've certainly given 2 looks. And I think the top look is sort of coordinating all the way around, where you have that same facade looking all the way around the building. As you circle the building on the car or even walking, you have that same piece all the way wrapping around.
Yes, sir.
So it looks almost like it's a front entrance no matter which side you look at.
Right.
That's impressive. Thank you.
And again, these are some of our ideas, and we had a couple of other options, but we were tied by the constraints of time to get all this done. But we would definitely like to sit down with the owner and discuss through these ideas, and you know, we can incorporate different facets, and you know, we're not by any means saying this is the only way to get it done, but this was sort of our initial vision, and I think it's attractive, it suits the building purpose, and it would be cost effective.
Any other comments, questions? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to say one thing too.
Yes, sir.
Closing, I think you can see that we've put a lot of thought and a lot of effort into this. When we first found out that the project was going to be advertised for design build, we started trying to assimilate our team and put it together. We did so. I think we've got some strong team members that are from our area. We actually went over, visited the site, the existing site, and went through the building, got up on top of the building, walked all through it. So we familiarized ourselves with what was over there and what needed to be done. We studied the plans, that ratio provided, which was, I think, a great concept. I think it's a little bit extravagant, but I think it was a good design, so we studied that to see what we could take out of that and utilize. I think you can see that from the plumbing, mechanical, electrical observations, that we see we can provide some of the same functions for a better price maybe, and maybe even improve the functions of some of those systems. But I think what the point I'm trying to make is we've put a lot of effort into this already. I think you can see that by this presentation. We think we would do a good job for you, and we want this job.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. I forgot to make a statement as to what's happening. Everybody wants to know when we're going to find out, right? Well, after the presentations today, this committee will recess, and our next commissioner meeting, Wayne County Commissioner meeting, is August 6th. We're going to meet that Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. in this very room, this facilities committee, to decide on one team. And once we decide that one team will be presented to the commission board for their approval and vote. So all of that would take place on Tuesday, August 6th at 7 a.m. is where we would decide at that time as facilities who that one team's going to be. So we feel like that's according to statute, that's according to what is the most transparent and also secure because of the way it's being done. Also keep in mind that it's already been said earlier this morning, is that the design build, the way it's being handled this year as far as facilities being involved, is something that is according to statute, and we're actually maybe setting precedent for a lot of counties around us in moving forward with design build. So there are counties that are looking at us because they're looking for a model to move forward. So we want this to work, and we want it to be the most successful design build program that we've had. So having said that, I appreciate your presentation. And Ms. Woods?
We will break till for lunch at 12 to 1 and come back in here at 1 o'clock.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.